Hi guys, I'm just going to show you a quick overview of a bookshelf that I don't think I've featured so far on this channel. So I thought maybe I could show you it today. A lot of these on the books on these shelves are either older books that I read back in like 2015, 2016, like older favorites, or some newer favorites. I'll just get into it and start with the top shelf. So this top shelf, I guess before I say that, I'll explain a little bit about the paraphernalia on this shelf. So at the top up here, you can see some, I think I got these off of Etsy. They're little like photo cards that are based on music videos from BTS. I ordered these off of Etsy because I thought they were really pretty, and then I was like, why not put them on my bookshelf, because my bookshelf was looking a little plain up until then. And then obviously I also have some greenery wrapped around, just to add a little bit of life. But let's get into this top shelf. So over here on the far left, these 4 little short paperbacks that are pretty colorful are actually the same books as these that you see up here. So let me move this little plant. You'll notice I do love a lot of like little plants and knickknacks on my shelves. So first off here, I will say this is a Mortal Sorrow candle. This is inspired by An Enchantment of Ravens, which is one of my very favorite books. Basically this whole top shelf up to like here and onward, I mean here and to the left, are all books that are very, very close to my heart. Like usually a lot of standalone favorites, I would say. So yeah, that's basically what this shelf was modeled on. So yeah, Immortal Sorrow candle is based on An Enchantment of Ravens, and so is this Rook candle. So I just keep them up here. But the first series up here is the Immortal Quartet series by Tamara Pierce. If you've never heard of Tamara Pierce, she is an iconic young adult author who wrote, I don't even know when these were first published, but very early, like I want to say early 2000s, but that could be wrong. I'll hopefully put it on the screen, I'll do a little research. But I read these my final year of college, and they were of great comfort to me. It's such a good series. Wild Magic, Wolf Speaker, Emperor Mage, and The Realms of the Gods. So this series very quickly just follows a girl named Dane, and she has the power to talk to animals. And if you don't know, Tamara Pierce has this whole world of Tortal, so she has many series sort of set in this world, and this is one of them. And I haven't read any of the others, but I think that's mostly because I just love this series so much that I'm scared that the others will not live up. But eventually I hope to get to them. So yeah, one of my very favorites. This was a book I read back in the day when I was in high school, and yeah, I just keep it for memory's sake. This is one of the first, like, I guess you would call it a thriller that I read. It's The Good Girl by Mary Kubica, and I really, really loved it. I think it made me cry. I read it back in, I want to say 2016. And I don't know, it just really impacted me. I don't know if it would have the same emotional resonance if I reread it now, but I keep it for nostalgia's sake. I really liked it. This is my arc of Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa. So this is the first book in a trilogy that I really loved from her. If you recognize her name, she wrote a book about Faye back in the early 2010s that I read, called the Iron Fae series. But this is set in like a fantasy world with a lot of Japanese folklore in it, and it's just so good. I love this series, and I just love the cover of this arc. Arc meaning advanced reader's copy. So I keep it up here. You'll notice I have 3 copies of this book, Sky in the Deep. This is another standalone that I really, really love, and I've reread quite a few times, and I don't know, I remember staying up late to finish this book, and it had such a strong, it left me with such like a strong feeling. I just loved it. I felt really connected to the characters. It just has a certain mood to it, and once you finish it, you just like think about it for a long time. It's like a Norse Viking inspired tale. And it's by Adrienne Young, who I read some of her other books, and they don't hit the same. I gotta say, I liked a few of them, some I didn't like at all, but none of them left me with the feelings that Sky in the Deep did. I just loved this book. So if you're looking for like a good, I guess you could call it enemies to lovers, but like not like in a sassy way, if that makes sense. Like it's not like a sarcastic enemies to lovers. It's like a soul felt enemies to lovers, and it's just so good. So I have this arc of it. This is like a special arc, like a Yellfest arc, I want to say, that I traded someone for. This is a signed paperback, and this is the signed Alcrate edition that I got personalized. I actually got to meet this author back in 2019, maybe. She was really cool. One of my favorite books, so obviously I had it on here. And then next we have An Enchantment of Ravens. You'll probably recognize this author. It's Margaret Rogerson. She wrote Sorcery of Thorns, which is a young adult fantasy, and a lot of people love that book. But I feel like I have an unpopular opinion or a more unpopular opinion, I guess, that I think this book is better. It's her first book. It's her debut, An Enchantment of Ravens. It's the perfect autumn book. It's about a mortal girl who paints for a living, and she makes a mistake one day when she paints sorrow in the eye of the fairy king, or the fairy prince. I don't remember if he's a prince or a king, but and that leads her into all sorts of trouble, I guess. But it's so autumnal. That's the only word I really know to say to describe it. But it's everything to me. The cover art is done by Charlie Bowater, who is known for her beautiful art, and it's everything to me. It's one of my favorite standalones of all time. I'll Give You the Sun. I think I've talked about this before. It's a contemporary about 2 twins, well, a set of twins, I guess, who grew up really close, and then one day they sort of split apart. And this book just means a lot to me. I read it in 2015. It talks about like identity and sexuality, and the twin bond in this is just so good. Speaking as a twin myself, so yeah, this book is very special to me. And then another favorite standalone is The Light Between Worlds by Laura Weymouth. I have the UK proof here, the US arc here, and then a personalized hardcover. And this is sort of, I'm not going to say like a Narnia retelling exactly, but it's a portal fantasy that deals with like the depression that you would maybe feel having to come back into this world and never see that other world again. It focuses a lot on depression and fantasy, sort of light fantasy, and I just really resonated with the 2 main characters. We follow 2 sisters who come back from, I can't remember what it's called, the woods or something, and how each sister sort of deals with it differently. I remember the author said that she wanted to tell a story from like Susan's perspective of Narnia, because Susan doesn't usually get like as much empathy and like understanding as she thinks her character deserves, and I really like that aspect of this book. So yeah, this is a standalone that means a lot to me. Love it very much. Next is Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder. This one isn't, I would say, a favorite. I just really like, this is the first book in the series, and it was so good. It was just a really good fantasy where like there's a prisoner who becomes the poison taster for the king, and that's all I'll say. But it's really good. It's the first in a longer series, and I tried to read the other books, but I didn't love them that much. I really only liked this first book, so that's the one that I kept. So, and then I'm sure you noticed this area of the shelf. This is just my mass market paperback area. It has all my like paranormal romance books. It's a lot of vampire, werewolves, fairy books. That's basically it. I've only read them once, but they were a fun time. So yeah, so that's that first shelf. I'm sure you'll recognize a lot of the things on this shelf if you're chronically online, or even not, because this series has just really blown up a lot. This is my A Court of Thorns and Roses shelf. Let me see if I can move this. It's a little like, this turns on, but I don't think it's plugged in, so. Yeah, this is my A Court of Thorns and Roses shelf. I read the series as it came out, so these are the original covers underneath here. I put like these Juniper Books dust jackets on top of them. So yeah, these are custom dust jackets you can order from Juniper Books, but underneath them I do have the original hardcovers, and I'm trying to protect them with these because I've noticed if I leave them out like in the light a lot, they start to get a little like bleached, or like sun damaged, I guess, light damaged. So I'm trying to preserve them for as long as possible by keeping these covers on top of them. But yeah, so these are my original copies underneath over here. These are my copies of A Court of Silver Flames. I have not read A Court of Silver Flames because the main character in that book is not my favorite. I know that's kind of a divisive topic, but I am a Feyre. She's the main character in the original series. I'm a Feyre stan first before anything else. I think she was done so dirty by her sisters, and I do not forget. And I think, not to go on a rant, sorry Nesta fans if you're listening, but I think there should have been more groveling on Nesta's side. Like, her pride needed to take a hit. Humility is something that I feel like she could have benefited from. So yeah, Feyre fan first, so I just have put off reading that series because I haven't heard great things from the people who share my taste. Like, I've heard there's not a lot of plot. I've heard mostly that it's just like a lot of like sex scenes, which I know some people enjoy. I am not as big a fan, so that book just does not call to me. If you've read the series, I think it's supposed to be Elaine's book next, who I love Elaine. I think Elaine, out of her two sisters, I love her much more, so I am excited for that. My two favorite, I guess, male characters in the series are Rhys and Asriel, and then Feyre and Elaine are my two favorite female main characters, so for that reason, I have not read the most recent book, but I love the original trilogy a lot. I remember the day that A Court of Mist and Fury came out. I had class that day, and I just drove to Target because there was a special Target edition that had like exclusive chapters in it. And I remember like driving like crazy to get to Target before class early in the morning, finding the copy, snagging it, and then like being unable to concentrate for the rest of the day because I was just so like, I need to read this book. But yeah, so this is a very popular series online. I'm sure you've heard of it. I haven't reread it since they came out. I really treasure those memories of when I first read them, and I'm scared of replacing them for some reason. So maybe one day when I feel like it's time. But yeah, so this is the special edition. This is the original trilogy. You've got the novella and then the new books here. And then I got these editions actually just came out. Put this over here, hopefully. These editions, or these dust jackets, actually just came out. This is with Frostbite Studios art on them, and I love her art so much. Again, it's Frostbite Studios. So these are her covers, and they're really, really beautiful. I'm very picky with how the characters are portrayed. Like, I generally don't love how artists depict these characters. I don't know why. I feel like I'm just very choosy, and I feel like there's always something off, but in my opinion, Frostbite Studios can do no wrong. And then, again, back in the day, this is a, back in the day, I was active on like the ARC trading community on Twitter, and I used to like receive advanced copies for reviews and stuff. And so I traded someone for this, which is just so wild because I don't think nowadays what I traded would be an equal, like a fair value trade, but so I really kind of got away with that one. But this is a UK advanced copy of A Court of Thorns and Roses, and it's actually, I swear I'm not making this up, there we go, and it's actually signed by the author. So this is kind of like a priceless item in my collection. I feel like I need to get it like shrink wrapped or something. So yeah, this is definitely one of my prized items. Like, would run back to grab it in a fire probably if I had time. So yeah, this is my favorite, not including the spin-off book, but the original trilogy is probably my favorite series from Sarah J. Maas. I'm not a huge fan of her other series. They're fine. I actually haven't read her adult series yet. I don't think I would like her adult series very much, just because I've noticed as time has gone on that her writing has gotten a lot more like focused on like spice, I guess, and less on like a slow burn romance, which is what I like. So I don't even know if I'm gonna read her adult books. And then Throne of Glass for me was just sort of average. It was good, don't get me wrong. A Court of Thorns and Roses series just has a very special place in my heart because I read it at a time when I was very lonely, and it has a strong friendship. If you've read it, you just kind of get it. Like, it has a very strong found family vibe, and that's really what I needed at the time. So yeah, the series will always have a special place in my heart. But speaking of that, we go down a shelf. Just have some like playing cards from book boxes. I have this little Enchantment of Ravens crow pen, well, a raven pen, excuse me, definitely not a crow. This is a book box edition of Cruel Illusions. It's really pretty. I would show you the sprayed edges if I could get this to come out, but okay, yeah. It's just a very pretty book. I do hope to read it at some point. It's a fantasy. This is the tour edition of her House of Sky and Breath book, Sarah J. Maas, which is her adult series. Again, I do own a lot of her books. I just haven't read her adult series yet. Because originally I thought I would like them, because I heard a lot of positive reviews at first, but then like the more I've heard and the more I've kind of looked into it, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I'll actually like this, but I do have this pretty tour edition that's not even opened, so. And then over here we have a little tin from a book box that has a quote from, I think, A Court of Mist and Fury. No, A Court of Thorns and Roses, I think. It says, "Be glad of your human heart. Pity those who don't feel anything at all." And here are some custom Funkos of some of the main characters. My three favorite characters in this series. In A Court of Thorns and Roses, we have Feyre, the iconic opening scene outfit. We have Rhys. Funny story, back before Sarah J. Maas released a video pronouncing all their names, this was like 2015, 2016. I called him Rice in my head because it is Rhys, and I'd never seen that name before written. So I was like, oh, Rysand, that must be his name. And then I later heard she said it was Rhysand, and it took me so long to get my head wrapped around that. But now finally it's normal, and now Rysand sounds weird, so I've done a 180. And then over here we have Asriel. Like, if I was in this world, Asriel would be the character I would be interested in getting to know. And then here are just some candles that go with the series as well. We have a Starfall candle, and here's a different Starfall candle. Oh, and I don't know if I mentioned, but I have this rose decoration here because Court of Thorns and Roses, you probably put that together yourself, but just thought I'd mention it. Going down. So this is, okay, here we go. This is my corner of shame. This is Sarah J. Maas's adult series. We have Crescent City. And I have multiple editions. I have the Waterstones exclusive. I think I have a personalized copy behind that. And then this is the tour edition that came out. Yeah, 2020. Originally, the only reason I have this is because it was only going to be given out during her tour in 2020, but then obviously we all know what happened in 2020, so they just sold them online, and I was very lucky enough to snatch it up in time. So this is a candle that goes with the series. Here is the sequel again. I think this is a Goldsboro version and a Waterstones version. Again, I think I'll definitely sell some of these duplicates if I don't plan on reading them. I think it's kind of crazy. I'm sure you guys have noticed nowadays, like when a really hyped series is being released, now they have all these different editions. Like you have like the Walmart edition, you have the Barnes & Noble edition, you have the Target edition. Like, it's all these books with just one chapter difference. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. So back when I bought this, I was still buying different editions, but I don't think I do that. I can't remember the last time I've done that because monetarily it just doesn't make sense, and you can usually find them online. So yeah, so this is the second book, and this is the third book. Moving on, this is the Throne of Glass series. I think it's 8 books long. I did enjoy this series, sorry. I actually read them earlier this year for the first time because I never read them. When I really love a series by an author, I always feel kind of reluctant to read a different series because I'm like, well, now I have all these expectations, and what if I don't like it as much, and blah, 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 blah. So, but I did enjoy it. I think it was a solid like 3 to 4 star series for me. And I got these beautiful dust jackets that make out the main character on the front, which I do kind of love. If we go down another shelf, this is my Stephanie Garber shelf, which is ridiculously long. Obviously I have some other books down here, but most of it I would say is Stephanie Garber, and I have some Stephanie Garber books on other shelves as well. I have too many of her books, but it's a long story. So these are the original UK hardbacks. They have the gold embossing of the different emblems that you can get. They are kind of, you could get them by random. I don't remember exactly which ones I got, but yeah, so these are the first printing of the UK editions. This is the Fairy Loot edition of Finale. Real quick, if you've heard about the Once Upon a Broken Heart series and the Caraval series, I do recommend starting with Caraval. I agree you don't have to, but I really love that series. It's funny, when I first tried to read Caraval, I hated it. I hated it so much. I was like, what is this sappy, romantic, like, I don't know, I just hated everything about it. But then when I went in, like, half a year later with different expectations, I was like, let me just try to enjoy it for what it is. And then after that, I loved it. I felt absolutely head over heels. And I don't know what happened. There's like a switch in my brain. But yeah, I love this series so much. And I do love the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, especially the first two. This is a pin for that series. It says Little Fox, because the main character's last name is Fox. So these are the Barnes & Noble editions. These are the, I believe, the Waterstones editions. No, these are the Fairy Loot editions. These are the Waterstones editions underneath these dust jackets. I found an artist on Instagram who made these. And it just says The Ballad of the Archer and the Fox, which is sort of a story within the series. And so it just is volume 1, volume 2, and volume 3. I really love them, so. I can't remember. I don't know why I have this extra copy, but somehow I ended up with an extra copy and I put this dust jacket on it that you got for pre-ordering. I think when I ordered this book, it came in damaged, so they sent me another one. And that's how I got a second one, I think. Honestly, I shouldn't keep this, but it's staying for now. This is the recent Waterstones edition that they did. Because again, the Waterstones editions have like different random art on the naked cover, and those had all sold out by the time a lot of people wanted to read them, so they released this new edition, and so I got it. Even though I have the originals, I was like, yeah, I kind of want this too, so I got that as well. This is my Alison Saft little corner, because I do love her books. She wrote Down Comes the Night, which I actually haven't read this one yet. This was her debut, I believe. But I loved A Far Wilder Magic, and I really liked A Fragile Enchantment. She just writes really good fantasy, like sort of cozy fantasy. If you like forest fantasy, she's for you. That's all I'll say. And she's actually coming out with a new book next month, maybe the month after, and it's going to be like a sapphic fantasy. I'm very excited for that one. These are two books by Carissa Broadbent. I've just heard a lot about these online, and they sounded like something I would like. I think these are the independently published versions. I know they got picked up by a publisher, but I think these are what they looked like. I mean, the covers are very similar, but I think I bought these before they were picked up, which I think the published versions have pretty art on the inside, so I probably missed out. But I know the third one is coming out soon. So next shelf. This is a lot of book box editions on this shelf. We have This Vicious Grace and This Cursed Light, which sounded really good. They're Fairy Loot editions, I believe. We have Emily Wilde, the first two Fairy Loot books. The third one has not been shipped yet. I don't even think the third book is out yet. Divine Rivals, I know this got a lot of buzz, so these are the Fairy Loot editions over here. Really love the UK covers for these. They're very pretty. I think they're like historical fantasy, and they have really pretty sprayed pages. And these are the Alcrate editions, which are also really pretty. They have a different cover, but it has its own charm to it that I like. These books, for some reason, are very heavy. This is a little quote print that I got from a book box forever ago, from the, it's from Elizabeth May, the Falconer trilogy, which I'm so exciting news. I'm sure if you have not read the series, you might not be excited, but maybe I can get you excited. So this is a young adult trilogy that I just reread. I filmed some videos on it, and the author just released that she's going to be releasing a adult version of the trilogy, because originally this series, the Falconer trilogy, was supposed to be like, I think, an adult fantasy or a new adult fantasy, I can't remember, but the publishers made her age it down to young adult but now she's getting to re-release it with like the adult, like in an adult fantasy. So I'm so excited to read those. I think they're going to be released on Kindle later this year, and I know Illumicrate is releasing editions of them as well, and I am so excited. So excited. So, sorry, slight tangent there, but this is Belladonna and Foxglove. I know a lot of people, I have a friend who loves this series. I think the third book is going to be released soon. I have not read them yet. Oh yeah, I feel like I should tell you, I have not read any of these books, I don't think, on this shelf. We have The Curse of Saints, The Curse of Sins by Kate Dramis. Very excited for this series. These are the Fairy Loot editions. They're very pretty. They have this gradient, sort of ombre sprayed page. I have the Goldsboro editions of those as well, but the Fairy Loot editions are so pretty. And then this is sort of ridiculous, but I do have 3 copies of The Witch and the Tsar by, I'm just going to say Alessia Gilmore, because I do not, is it Salnikova? Alessia Salnikova Gilmore? Hopefully I said that right. I do have 3 copies of this just because it gives such the Bear and the Nightingale vibes, which is one of my favorite series of all time by Catherine Arden. So when I saw this, I was like, well, I think I'm going to love this. So this is the Fox and Wit edition. This is the, I think, the US hardcover. So pretty. And then this one is the UK hardcover. One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns. This is I think a pretty popular series online by Rachel Gillig. It's an adult fantasy series. Again, very foresty, so very up my vibe. But these are the Fairy Loot editions. Well, I want to say Fairy Loot. It could be Illumicrate. I sometimes get those mixed up. And then this was just an indie series that someone told me they really liked, so I have the first 2. I have not read them. I think there's a 3rd book out, so who knows when I will get to that. This is the final shelf, a little dusty down here, so please forgive me. First, we have my Foxhole Court planner, which I got from a box. It is a very prized possession of mine. This is the Inheritance trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. I read the Dreamblood duology by her last year, and I absolutely loved it. 5 out of 5 stars. New favorite series. And I've heard a lot of good things about this series from her. She's an adult fantasy author, and the premise of this just sounds really good too. But yeah, I think this is one of her earlier series as well, so I wanted to get to that before I read some of her later work. Sons of Darkness. I believe this is an Indian-inspired fantasy, adult fantasy, and it sounds really good. It's also just a beautiful book. This is the Barnes & Noble edition. Like, you put a wolf on a cover, and, you know, I'm pretty much sold. So, and I think it's gotten really good reviews, so very excited to get to that. I read this young adult series, or it's a duology, earlier this year. It came out a while ago, I think back in like the 2010s. But it's just it's so good. It's very, I don't know how to describe this. It has a lot of bone magic in it, and it's about this girl whose futures split off. And it's just very interesting. I liked it a lot. It's this duology. Underrated, if you ask me. I have A River of Golden Bones. I just heard this is a good book. These are not on the bottom for any bad reason. I just ran out of shelf space, but I wanted them in my room, so. This is my little Ray versus the Praetorian Guard. Down here we have Fourth Wing. Yeah, this is a copy of Fourth Wing that has this dust jacket on it that I found from an artist on Instagram. Very pretty. I will say, I thought Fourth Wing was okay. I understand why it's as popular as it is, but the romance in it felt very jarring in that, like, the fantasy aspects made me be like, oh, okay, fantasy. And then we would get the romantic scenes, and it was like we suddenly got switched to, like, an adult romance book. Like, none of the language felt very fantasy. That did not feel like a fantasy relationship to me. That felt like I was suddenly thrown into, like, a contemporary adult romance. It was very jarring. So, but not bad. I did enjoy it a lot, and I understand why it's so popular. The rest of these are just books I want to get to. Naomi Novik. These are kind of random here. I have the rest of the series on a different shelf. This is the US hardcover of Encyclopedia Fairies. No Longer Human, A Million to One. These are just other books that I really want to get to. The Wild Hunt, I really enjoyed this book. Curse of the Wolf King. This is two Rebecca Ross books. It's The Queen's Rising and The Queen's Resistance. I think I have these backwards, so please ignore me. But this was earlier work from Rebecca Ross, who wrote Divine Rivals. So I wanted to read her backlist. And then two Olive E. Blake books. I've never read an Olive E. Blake book. I take that back. I DNF'd. What was that one book? It's a blue, I think it has beehive cover, like, designs on the cover. I did not like it, whatever it was. So kind of scared, but I've heard nothing but good things about Masters of Death, so crossing my fingers. And then the Hedge Witch of Foxhall. This just looks completely up my alley. I think I hauled this in a video. But if you have, like, an autumnal book like this, you talk about foxes, like, say no more. That's all I need. And that was my little shelf tour. The shelf that you never see because the camera's always facing away from it. I guess I'll show you real quick. This is a map of Prythian that you got as a pre-order for, I think, A Court of Mist and Fury or A Court of Wings and Ruin. I can't remember. This is all not even, but this is some art that I need to fix of the inner circle, the best characters in my opinion, of that series, and then some Shadowhunter art. So this is the Infernal Devices characters, and these are the Last Hours characters. So yeah, that's just my little fan art wall over there. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.